And welcome back. Welcome to the second half of the Silver Lining. This is the half where we go over viewer topics. If you guys have any topics you want to discuss, stuff that happened over the week, questions you want to ask, feel free to just add them in the chat here. This topic should say Sage should be allowed on the keyboard. No CT scan. Sage should not be allowed on the keyboard. And yes, that was him you were hearing during the break. He wants dry food, and he gets crazy. And then what happened? What do I hear? He and what do I hear 5 minutes later? And then and you got to run and you got to grab him, or throw. You got to grab him and put him somewhere, or you got to throw a towel underneath him so that he throws up on the towel. Console gaming won't die as long as developers capitalize on split screen or party games. Interesting. Topic: Why is video game collecting so hot where DVD, VHS collecting isn't so much? Ooh, interesting. Why is video game collecting so hot where DVD, VHS collecting isn't? If I had to wager, hold on, let me change the title here. Viewer topics ampersand Q and A. Here we go. Okay, there we go. I wonder. I wonder if it's because if it's because it's interactive media. When you put a DVD in, when you put a VHS in, which by the way there are cultures for collecting that stuff. But I think the idea is that the video games are more interactive, and there is more. I believe that in my opinion, for me anyway, not in my opinion, for me anyway, there's more of a benefit to playing it the original way, because the playing it is the experience. The experience of the whole thing is playing the game. So the idea of how you play it has a big effect. When we talk about things like playing on original hardware because of button lag and stuff like that, when we try and recreate the graphics system, the graphic style on the screen so it looks like it used to, I think a lot of that plays into how we experience it. For movies, especially for movies, what we were trying to do was get the quote-unquote best quality, the clearest image. So when DVD came out, it was obviously clearer than VHS. So the experience of watching whatever it was the same, only it looked better. So then as that happens, and now we're downloading, so now it looks great and it's more convenient. Whereas with video games, there's an interactive aspect to it that we are also trying to we're not just trying to recreate what we've seen, we're trying to recreate what we played. And collecting old video games tries to maintain that. Well, thank you, Indigo. Indigo showing up hard. Okay, I'm gonna go back up. Topic: Should Sage still be eating $200 meal? No, he awesome. Sage should still be eating the special cat food that we have to buy for him. In all seriousness, he has to eat that special cat food, though it does not cost $200. You can use graphics card to mine Bitcoin. Bitcoins. Topic: Fire Emblem. Topic over. Fire Emblem. Yay. I still got like 200. Yeah, I have a bunch of VHS too, but I don't even have a player to watch it. I still collect DVDs. In all honesty, to me, it has a lot to do. It's similar to the record collectors. The VHS collectors, there's an aspect to it. Oh boy, Mambo fired off 200 bits. The VHS collectors are, to me, very much like record collectors, where most record collectors will agree that as far as clarity of music goes, things like CDs are better. But they like the lack of clarity from records and albums. They like the crackling and the popping. You know, for VHS fans, I imagine it's the same thing. To get those FBI warnings at the beginning and to have the screen shift every once in a while because the tape might have warped a little bit. That's part of the experience. Hold on. I gotta scroll. If anybody posted a topic, please post it again. I'm like way behind. Oh no, wait. I don't think I'm too far behind. How long was your emulation high, and what game triggered your emulation high? I don't know that I had an emulation high. I do like some emulation. My emulation high was triggered by Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger when I realized that I could play those games on my computer. I think I was just fascinated. The reason I never really got into emulation is because when I first got into it, it was still very flawed. Super Nintendo games still ran very slow, and then as a collector, it was easier for me to just play them. You know, now we like emulation because we can take it on the go, and there's so much of it out there, and it's great for preservation because now we get to play these games that otherwise we would never get to play. But I was never a hardcore, like, emulation king. Like, it was always just kind of like, oh, cool. Do you think it's because VHS never really was about owning the product, more about the content? Well, Suave, movie watching was never about the product itself. Movie watching was always about, you know, rental stores going and renting the movie and then taking it back. Nobody ever questioned that. You know, rental stores used to have a problem with, oh, thank you, Lady Foxheart, for the bits, and Siberian Ninja. See, I'm getting away from the bits here. You know, we had video stores around us, and they had an issue with video games being stolen, that people would rent them out and then they would just never bring them back. That was rarely a problem with movies, or rarely a noticed problem with movies. You know, because movies, nobody had a problem, although they were probably bootlegging them, but nobody had a problem getting the movie, watching it, and then taking it back. You know, but video games they wanted to keep because the interactivity, I think, was part of the experience. Ooh, topic. When is it okay to talk about spoilers? How long do you have to wait? What? There was a time frame. We talked about this before, or I talked about it in a video. For movies, I want to say I had adjusted my time frame because I had a time frame before. I used to say about 2 weeks for movies. I'd say about a month. I'd say about a month for movies. If you really care that much, you'll find time within 30 days of a movie being released to go and see it. For TV shows, 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks for any TV show is fine because after the show, you normally would have a week until the next show. For shows like Netflix shows where everything comes up at once, I'd give it a month. Just because have some bits because you're awesome. Thank you, Siberian Ninja. For stuff where the show goes all up at once. That's when I say Netflix shows. What I mean is the shows that on the day that it's released, everything goes up at once. Give it a month. Again, if people care that much, they're going to find a way to watch it within a month span. Within 30 days, you're going to find some time to watch it. Bit Wars, episode 14. Hey, I'll take it. Bitstorm, Naruto, Ninja Bitstorm. Will Steam end console gaming? No. I don't think console gaming is going to end. I think console gaming is safe. I think console gaming would be in danger if we more efficiently and more commonly integrated our computers into our televisions. That's where the big difference is. I don't like the idea of sitting at this chair playing video games for a very long time other than streaming. I do it for streaming because I have to with this setup. if I had the ability to set up a stream with me sitting on the couch, I would do that. Console gaming gives me the ability to play video games from the comfort of my couch. PC gaming requires me to be sitting at my PC setup, whatever that may be. So I don't think something like Steam will ever replace it. When I can run my computer 100% efficiently on my television, that's when console gaming is in danger. Record collectors also have the pro that the casings for the records is super expressive. Yeah, VHS boxes are pretty boring. Yeah, I the thing that sucks me in with records all the time is the cover art. I'm always fascinated by the cover art. I mean, you guys know, even with video games, when it comes to like Japanese PlayStation and Saturn games, I love disc art. Sega CD had amazing disc art. Top video game franchises that have forgotten their roots. That's a dangerous one, Suave. That's a dangerous one. That's hard to say. I don't know. I don't know any of them any video games franchises that feel like they've forgotten their roots. I know of video game franchises that feel like they have evolved. Castlevania, for instance. Castlevania has evolved into something else. It felt natural the way it evolved into what it is now. With the exception of the 3D, I'm just not a fan of the 3D stuff. But yeah, I think a lot of franchises have evolved from what they were into what they are now, while still holding on to some aspect of their roots. I think that's probably the best way I could say it. Topic: what made you want to cosplay to begin with? What made me want to cosplay to begin with is that when I was a kid, I was always fascinated by building things, and I loved the idea of dressing up as characters. I loved Halloween because I got to dress up as a character. I was here's a nerdy little tidbit for you. When I watched Captain N every Saturday morning, I had a controller that I would put on my belt, and I would put my light gun in my pocket, my zapper in my pocket, because I wanted to look like Captain N when I watched it. That was probably the first time outside of Halloween that I liked the idea of dressing up as my character to show how much I love my character. But I also like the creative side of it. I love, even before I cosplayed myself, I loved talking to other cosplayers about how they made the things that they made, because it was so fascinating to me to see them take foam and cardboard and turn it into these expressions of the things that they loved. I will say that while I always wanted to do it, I never took the leap until 2014's E3, and I saw Splatoon for the very first time, and I looked at the characters and I looked at their cool, funky, fresh designs, and I said, I need to dress as that character. And sure enough, a Splatoon Inkling was my first cosplay. Are there hardcore VHS enthusiasts who will take a recording of newer movies, like say Infinity War, and put on VHS? Minion, I would love to see that. I would love to see somebody, and I'm sure there are people who like to go that backwards compatible. There were the guy who because Cuphead has an old cartoon aesthetic, they downscaled everything and they got it working on an old 13-inch black and white TV. It looks amazing. If you've ever seen it, watch the video. It looks amazing. That video game music topic sounded cool. Oh, the one that I was going to do. Yeah, I may want to save that one, Logan, because that's kind of a big one. That's kind of video game music that, sort of the kind of impact that it had on us, what kind of, how important it was to, how important it is to you now, how important it was to you, songs that have stuck with you. I think I'll save that for another week. One time as an Inkling. Oh wait, Aqua Sakura. Yeah, I haven't cosplayed lately. I just haven't had the drive or the money to really do it. I did an Inkling twice. My very first cosplay was an Inkling, and then I did Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon. I did a Combat Mario. I just wonder, there was a couple more. I mean, there was some like simple one, little goofy ideas that I had. But yeah, I would love to do it more. I was halfway through building Mass Effect armor, and then I just stopped liking the way it looked. So I still have it, but I doubt that I'll wear it unless I retool certain pieces. And I kind of want to lose my gut. The bottom line is my gut really does kind of mess with a lot of cosplays that I'd love to see and do. And I'm back. We still on VHS. Now we're on the DVDs. Elements. No, we're not. Our video games art. Dr. Juice, I think we did that once. We discussed that once. We talked about it. Now I believe they are. I do believe they are. I believe the video games are a sign of creative expression. I believe that they are a representation of multiple kinds of art, you know, from graphic design to music to writing and story. I believe the video games are one of the culminations of art, of multiple arts. When do you know when enough is enough in video games? Like overusing the same quirks or repetitive aspects. Could be in the same game, same franchise, or several different games doing the same formula. When nobody is able to make it seem like their own anymore. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of multiple kinds of games. You know, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of RPGs and platformers and first-person shooters. But so many of them use the formula in a way that feels like their own. When you get to a point where it feels like 100% of the game is copied from someone else, that's when you might need to start changing up how the formula is put together. Because then, even then, what you can do is you could break it down into its pieces and then use different pieces in different places. Yeah, that's a big topic, but yeah, when it starts, especially within the same franchise, when it stops feeling like its own game and just feels like other games, and that's it. I'm taking vodka shots. I'm sipping from the small sample bottle. Came with console master race. Take a shot every time Sage meows. Top video game franchise. Oh, that I've forgotten the roots. Oh no, wait, I'm way ahead. Hold on, I'm way up at the top. Hold on. Hey Zeta, Greg, do Barrett. I don't think he would be into me. Speaking of which, Matt has been playing Cuphead. I look forward to that someday. What video game myth did you fall for? For a little while, I thought there was a way to get back Aerith. And Sheng Long at the end of Street Fighter 2. I fell for those. Sheng Long, because they had the picture in a Game Pro. I think it was Game Pro that had it, and the concept that they edited that picture didn't occur to me. Aerith, because I had seen pictures of it, and it's sort of the same problem. I'd seen pictures of it, and it turned out that you can do it with Game Shark, but I believe that you could do it in the game. Do you think VR will more be used by police, nurses, and such? No, I don't think VR has applications for police. I think doctors and nurses have some interesting uses. Can find some interesting uses for VR. Yeah, I don't think police could use it. I think that there are other world applications for VR. I don't doubt that for a second. What they are, I don't think I know enough about those fields to know, other than like a doctor controlling a robot, but then he sees what is going on inside with an HD camera sort of thing. Like, it's a little weird, but again, I just don't know enough about those fields to know where they can be used, but I have a strong suspicion that they can be. Topic: how not to get frustrated with people with mental disabilities. How not to get frustrated? that's probably a bigger topic than me and than us here, but I would have to say understanding that the things that they may be doing that frustrate you, they might not have control of. I have no problem dealing with somebody who speaks at a loud volume or does something with the understanding that they don't have a lot of control over that. If anything, kids who run around when their parents aren't doing anything, I am never mad at the kids. I am always angry at the parents for not being because they are the ones that are in control of that situation and they are choosing not to control it. So I would say acknowledging first and foremost that somebody who may be in that situation, who is doing something that can admittedly annoy. I don't want to make it sound like that's not the case, because it does sometimes do that. But acknowledging that they may not have control of the thing that they're doing is usually the immediate notice to my brain that says, okay, you can't, it's hard to get angry at somebody for doing something that they don't have control over. And I'm pretty sure I'm all the way up again. Hold on. I'm gonna try and catch back up. All right, I think I got lost here. I got lost. I don't know where I am. Well, I'm in my house, but the second hottest Fire Emblem character. Oh, people without. Wait, hold on. Right, say the question again, because I lost it here. I can't find this damn thing. What is it? I have no idea what we're talking about, but yes. my dad works at Nintendo. CT, we used to have that when I would play arcade games as a kid, where there was always that one kid that was better than everybody else, and it was always his dad probably works at the company that made the game. Let's see here. Possible silver lining topic: gamer entitlement. Ugh. Biggest regret of a game you could have bought but didn't. Earthbound in the box. Like with the manual and everything, I had maybe one or two opportunities to buy that and I never did. I think about games that I was interested in but never bought. Panzer Dragoon Saga. That's a game that I was very interested in, but never took the plunge to actually buy it, and I regret not being able to get it. It's hard to say, you know what I mean? There are games out there that are worth thousands of dollars, and I can't sit here and say, oh, I regret not buying that. I never had an opportunity to buy Kyo Flying Squadron for the Sega CD. I never had a Sega CD at that time. There was no moment where I could have bought it but didn't. So I can't sit here and say I regret not buying it. I had several chances to buy Radiant Dawn. I regret not buying Bad Fur Day. One thing I could, the Green Power Rangers Morpher. I found Metro Prime Trilogy for 2 or 3 years ago for $25. I regret not getting it. Yeah. Sega CD Super 32 XL. I mix our names up sometimes. But yeah, Rye, if you're still here, what was that question? Can you restructure the question? Oh, thanks for showing us Cats in Your Head channel. That was a good stream. Yeah, Cats in Your Head's a really good stream. I have a good time when I go there. So how many games did that guy get hit with? Oh, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Nothing like cold water when you're warm to really feel like you're refreshed. Except maybe iced tea. Iced tea is kind of like that. Games I regret selling. Bubble Bobble 2. I had a Bubble Bobble 2 once. I mean I sold it for $60. So it wasn't, which at the time was way more than any other NES game that I had seen. But now seeing how much it's worth, I do kind of wish that I didn't sell it, mostly because I don't remember what I got with the $60. You know, it's one of those, there are situations where I might have sold something, but then I got something else good for it. So I'm glad I have that. GameCube versions of Resident Evil 2 and 3. I have this crazy thought they're going to put Metro Trilogy on the Switch. I really hope so. I want them to put Metro Prime Trilogy on the Switch. I regret selling Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness and Kirby's Air. Oh, I wouldn't mind having Kirby's Air Ride. I'd like that game. I regret not getting Smash Brothers Melee for $20 in good condition. How not to get frustrated. Hold on. That's from Rye. How not to get frustrated with people without mental disabilities. So how not to get frustrated from just regular people? Like, well, okay, that sounded awful. From people without mental disabilities. Yeah, I apologize for that. That sounded really weird. Typical. What is it? What is it called? Neurotypical? Yeah, neurotypical, I think, is the term for it. Yeah, because Raya has Asperger's. How do I get frustrated by people without? That's why she has. Yeah. Yeah. So. Okay, I want to make sure that I'm getting the question right. How not to get frustrated with people without mental disabilities is what we're asking, right? So just no, and I do think the term is called neurotypical. I don't know. I get frustrated with people all the time. I don't know. I think the I don't. That's a tough one. I think I know less how to answer that one. Oh, okay. Here we go. Yeah. Topic. Sometimes people without disabilities have ways that might frustrate me. Like I see black and white sometimes. Like one time this person had an open scar. I blurted out if he's okay, and my workers told me that I was wrong to say. Yeah, so I think I'm getting that topic right. It's a tough topic. Yeah, I think I'm just having a hard time understanding the topic. Hold on. So this person had an open scar, and I blurted out if he's okay. My coworkers told me that was wrong to say, and you're supposed to lie if someone asks if they look good. Yeah, Suave, yeah, I would say communication is the key. Yeah, it's a tricky topic. And again, I'm want to make sure that I'm answering the right question. Because how to not get frustrated with people is like I said, I get frustrated with people all the time, and I haven't figured out how to not get frustrated by them. I think probably the easiest way is to just acknowledge that the frustration is temporary. Yeah, we can scratch. No, because I do feel like I want to get into it. I think that's. Yeah, what and that's the problem. What your coworker said, Aqua Sakura said, what your coworker said sounded strange. Like to tell you that you're not supposed to do that. I think the frustration. I think the way to avoid it is to just acknowledge that the frustration is temporary, and to. I don't want to say avoid the person because you can easily get into a situation where you avoid everybody. which outside of social media I am dangerously close to. To get a little personal, I am starting to reach a point mentally where I am having a harder and harder time leaving my house just because I know what's going to happen. and it happens it feels like it happens every day, more and more and more often. It feels like it's happening every day. I go and I leave the house, and at some point somebody does something to piss me off. Every day it feels like more and more somebody does something to piss me off. There was a guy today who he was behind me while we were driving, and he swerved around to me, not a dangerous swerve, but he swerved around to get into the turning lane, and I sat there thinking, why were you behind me if you were going to turn? And then I knew what was going to happen. He got into the turning lane, and he was going to drive straight. He was going to cut people off to go straight, and it just pissed me off to no end. And I remember thinking this, and I think the same thing that I always think: if I just didn't leave my house, I would not have had that little frustration. But the way I get through it is to tell myself that frustration is temporary, that in 2 minutes I'm not going to care about it anymore. I put music on, I put something to mentally distract me, and then I do my best to make it home and escape into video games. Thank you, 10 Elements. Oh, here we go. Quite honestly, while they were trying to stick up to the social norm and not upset the person with the scar, that coworker sounded quite rude. Yes. Yes, you have to be respectful, but at the same time, they also have to understand that you have Asperger's. I probably spelled that wrong. I think it's ASP, right? I'm so sorry, not like this. So they know you aren't coming off from a place of... You know what? Elements, that is a very good breakdown, so I do appreciate that. I think even outside of having to identify that somebody has something like Asperger's, I think the bigger identification is just to acknowledge that people aren't trying to be dicks about it. Excuse my language, but that's really the case. If I saw somebody with a big giant scar that went up and down their leg, my question would be, oh man, what happened? Does that hurt? I'm not trying to draw attention to it because I'm trying to make them feel crappy. I find that there's a fascinating story behind that. Maybe an unfortunate story, maybe something that they don't want to bring up, in which case all I need is the other person to say it's not something I like to get into. I'm totally fine. We're totally good with that. I think that there's a problem that, regardless of whether somebody has Asperger's or anything like that, I think that there's this problem where everybody just assumes that people are trying to piss other people off. I have an issue with the offended culture, where there's this culture around, everybody gets offended over a lot of things. And yes, there are a lot of people saying some pretty crappy, jerky things out there, and they're doing it to offend people. But when somebody asks a question and I have an opinion and my opinion differs from somebody else, I am not trying to upset you. I am simply giving my opinion. There are people who take that as your opinion is different than mine, so you're attacking me. No, that's really not what's happening at all. The cult of outrage. The cult of outrage is the name for it. And I don't know why I did that with my hands. You're more than welcome. I was thinking I was being too rude. Elements, there you go. I was thinking I was being too rude with that comment. Everybody gets so nervous, and it's because that there's so many people out there who just jump down your throat because they think that you're being outrageous and they think that you're being insulting. And it's like, I'm not trying to be insulting. Just wanted to make sure everything was clean. I'm offended that you're offended. Oh, you know what? There's actually a good example of that. There's a good example of that recently, and this is going to be a weird topic. This is going to be sort of a long topic. Did you guys happen to see? There's a meme that's starting to spring from it too. The girl in the Chinese dress. She was the Caucasian girl in the Chinese dress, and it looked great. It looked amazing, and there were people upset that she was appropriating Chinese culture to make her wedding dress. And there's the meme coming up from it, like, your dress is not my culture isn't your prom dress, or something like that. And yeah, oh god, this thing. People being offended. Yeah, there it is, Dead. That's it, J-Punks. People being offended for other people, because apparently they were showing people in China the dress and the picture, and they were not offended. They liked the dress, and they liked the fact that they considered it appreciation for their culture. And there's this culture of people that are offended for other people who aren't even offended. You know what I mean? Like, dude, you don't need to worry. I'm going to be offended for you. You know, there's this culture. That situation was uniquely annoying because I think about when it happens to other places. I think about when it happens the other way around. This to me is the heart of consideration and compassion, and this is where people are lacking. What happens when it's the other way around? Cowboy culture is uniquely American. Cowboy hats, cowboy boots, the whole behaviors, that is uniquely American. That is one of the United States cultures that is born here and originated from here. So when other cultures want to emulate America, a lot of the time that's where they go. They go to the cowboy culture. Howdy, partner. And they have the cowboy hats and stuff. And then they put their own spin on it. I don't see it as insulting. I see it as appreciation for the country. I see it as a limited understanding of the culture. You know, this is they want to assimilate what they consider to be American culture into themselves, and that's what they go with because that's the one that they know. I'm not offended by it. I appreciate that somebody is looking towards our culture, finding something about it and appreciating it and integrating it into their lives in order to say, I like this thing, and that's how I want that's how I show it by working it into my life. I love that. I would then appreciate to know that they are delving further into it. You know what I mean? That they want to explore it a little bit more. You know, when people say Japanese, a lot of the time people think of kimonos and yukata and don't even know the difference between kimono and yukata. Or they think of that and they think all this stuff, and it's like, what do Japanese people dress like? T-shirts, pants, dresses, skirts. They dress like human beings. But there are these aspects of culture that that are unique to their culture. So when you try and emulate that culture, that's the thing that you focus on. You know, I have no doubt in my mind that girl is not insulting Chinese people whatsoever. I believe that she is very infatuated with Chinese culture, and she likes that, and she has integrated that into what she does. Oh, hold on. Oh my gosh, leave the girl alone. Yeah, no one complains about Anna Williams from Tekken. The thing is, and the thing with the dress on the one hand, I like the dress, but then people start having opinions on it for either being for or against it. Yeah, I see what you mean, Elements. I just don't know enough about the situation. The ultimate irony of this, it's still white people deciding what to get offended about. Cultural appropriation 90% of the time is just going to be said by white people trying to offer. Yeah, Mambo, we're getting further away than I'm going. We're getting deeper than I'm going to go. You're braver than I am. Actually, the Stetson was more of an outlaw hat. Most people in the Wild West wore a bowler. Yeah, I've heard that. That more people wore bowler hats and stuff like that. Winnipeg sucks. What? As a white person, hearing other white people tell me that they have offended different cultures, it annoys the hell out of me. But I have heard of people getting upset over people wearing traditional clothing that are not part of their culture. It's not something I agree with. I'm fine, for instance, seeing who wear dashiki. Aqua Sakura, I don't mind it either. I don't mind it if you were doing it appropriately. You know what I mean? I would have a problem if you were turning Chinese funeral wear into day-to-day clothing. I would have a problem with it. because that's insulting to that special thing. But a white person or I'm a Hispanic person, if I went to Japan and they had a summer festival and I went and got a yukata to wear, I don't think I'm insulting anybody. I think I am partaking in the cultural celebration that's going on around me. Some people would say that I'm being a racist because I went over there and I'm doing something offensive because I went over there and I wore a yukata because it wasn't part of my original culture. That's a huge topic, by the way, that we can get into. Culture. That's probably the topic I won't get into, but all Ugandan people are black. Okay, I'm gonna try and read some of the bigger comments here. Is that she looked nice and people were getting worked up in their own crap. Yeah, I have a bowler hat. I don't have a bowler hat. Rev up those fryers because I'm one hungry customer. Cowboy stuff, as we know it these days, mostly can. Yeah, you know what? It can't. I think a lot of it, Mambo. I think a lot of that cowboy stuff that we see nowadays came from cowboy TV shows. You know what? The old stuff like Lone Ranger and the serialized stuff that was more elaborate. You know, it was supposed to be over the top, and I think that's where people drew that culture from. Arranged to mock and insult people that knows ones that have an intention of offending people. But if someone wears it because it looked beautiful, yeah, there's no problem with it. It's the kind of dress that I would imagine a Chinese person would wear to their prom, so I don't have a problem with it. But yeah, if it's the kind of clothes that they would wear to some other event, and they were turning it in, and someone was turning it into day-to-day clothes for their culture, that's where I'm kind of like, it's kind of insulting, isn't it? The politically correct culture, white people deciding that white people are offended for other cultures. Yeah, that's when I would start to ask people, like, you know, if people are offended, were the people in question offended? You know, like, who was offended here by this? I don't know much about other cultures other than respect them. J Punks, I love the idea of other cultures. I would love to be a cultural analyst and figure out, like, I think the idea of going to a place where there are multiple cultures and greeting people in their cultural greeting is probably one of the coolest things I could ever want to do in my life. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just to be able to say hello in their way in different languages and different, because some people, you know, they shake hands differently or they do these different things. Like, that to me is so fascinating. I'm fascinated by the fact that there are 7 billion people on this planet, and it feels almost like we've discovered 7 billion different ways to exist. And that is fascinating to me. That's the when in Rome. That's the when in Rome for the yukata, yeah. People getting insulted over the term melting pot. I love melting pot. Melting pot is what the earth is supposed to be. We're all supposed to learn from each other, and we're supposed to be better for it. We're not supposed to be separate in cultures. We're supposed to learn from each other and grow with each other and become the ultimate human being is a human being that has learned from every culture and is the best possible person they could be. Lindsay Ellis's video on Pocahontas film with the whole cultural appropriation. Oh God, I can only imagine. I can only imagine elements. The importance of mixing cultures is not so much safeguarding each other's, but rather to let them flow into. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to learn. You're supposed to grow and evolve with each other. People got pissed that non-Hispanic Mexican people were celebrating Day of the Dead. Like, you know what, Elements? I will get a little annoyed at celebrating things like the Day of the Dead, not because they're celebrating the Day of the Dead, but because they are not appreciating what the day is supposed to be for. But I have that problem across the board with most holidays. I don't like the fact that people use Cinco de Mayo as an excuse to get drunk and have no idea what the day is about. I don't really like the fact that people celebrate Christmas when they're not religious. I know that sounds weird, and even I do it, but it does seem a little bit strange to me that Christmas is at its core a religious holiday, yet the government is supposed to be separate from religion, and the government takes off for Christmas. I do find that to be a little strange. I do find there to be a little bit of conflict in there. Not enough to get all worked up about it, but I do acknowledge that there is a little bit of conflict in there. Unless it's the culture of one, barbarism and murder and general violation of human rights, I think. Oh yeah. Suave. That is exactly why I think we should be learning from each other, because there are cultures out there of barbarism and murder and non-acceptance, and what they should be doing is mixing with other cultures that do have that acceptance and learning from them. Things like that, cultural violence persists because we don't experiment with each other. We don't get out there and view other cultures and view the benefit that other cultures and other ways of thinking have. We are too separated, and that's a problem. Lady Foxheart, gonna head out later. Lady Foxheart, thank you for stopping in. There's 7 billion ways to offend people. If you keep putting up walls of being offended, yeah, I think that before you get offended by something, I think you should try and understand something. I think you should try and understand, the going back to the girl with the dress, rather than just getting offended by what she did. Why don't you talk and try and understand why she did that? Maybe there is something in the culture that has touched her in a special way, and that's her appreciation for the culture. Doing so might introduce you to something in the culture that you didn't know was there that you now appreciate. It sort of goes into the weebie conversation where we talk about the weeaboos, and we talk about how learning about Japanese culture through anime is probably not the best thing you can do, but there is a point where you can then jumpstart that into learning more about the culture. You can use that as a springboard into saying, okay, this is what anime says about Japanese culture. That sparks an interest into what the culture really is, and it may lead you to discover something that you didn't know was there before. Not celebrating anything like day to day, it should be, it's undesirable, and and it's undesirable, and I think it's undesirable from everybody. I think that certain holidays, cultural holidays specifically, even in that culture, I think that if they decide to turn that holiday into let's just get drunk, I have a problem with it. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's other races or other cultures. It's the fact that it's the same. It's the people doing it, forgetting the point of it. I'm offended that you're offended. Siberian Ninja, that offends me. Given the history of Christmas, I find with people not celebrating it as a religion. Yeah, and Aqua, and that's why I don't get too worked up over it, is because it has transcended the aspect of religious holiday, and it has, but unfortunately, it has become a gift-giving, materialistic holiday, which is why I don't really like it. As for the whole Christmas thing, yeah, it's understandable. It's such an evolved, that's what I was saying, Elements. Yeah, it has evolved beyond the religion that is tied to the holiday, so I don't get worked up over it. I'm just not a fan. I still buy gifts for certain people, and I still make cookies for everybody and stuff, but I am not a huge fan of Christmas itself. The sad thing about it for me is that people don't appreciate things more, and they jump towards the hate. Yeah, it's J-Punk, it's their first reaction. It's a knee-jerk reaction for people to get pissed off about things, instead of saying, okay, is this something I need to get pissed off about? Is this something that there may be more to it than I'm familiar with? Whiskey and ice cream is terrible. That's a good topic. We'll have to cover that next time, Indigo. What goes good with whiskey, or what ice cream goes good with whiskey. That's a good way of thinking of Christmas. Yeah, so I don't hate Christmas like that. I'm having a big time buffer. It's free. It's clear on my side. I mean, it looks like it's clear on my side. I only like Christmas for the tree, the seasonal food. Yeah, I love the food. I love how creative people get with the food around Christmas time. I love the the positivity. There is a lot of positivity in the air. I'm a fan of the programming. I like that we have no problem suspending reality to put a little magic into our television programs. I like that it's only like Christmas time that really happens. Yeah, I'm more for the atmosphere of Christmas than the present. Yeah, the presents, I would rather just keep the money and buy my own presents. Super weird question. Do you think fundamentalism is the result of groups being isolated too much in society and given the needs to sustain themselves without having to... Suave, I think that the problem there is the struggle to maintain identity in a group, to maintain identity as a group. I think that the biggest reason that people don't like to mix with other cultures is because they are afraid to lose their own culture. Hey, Hero Chaos, thank you for the 100 bits. But yeah, I think that's a problem. I think that they are afraid to lose what they consider to be their own culture to another culture. And I think that what people need to realize is that if they integrated their cultures together, they would have one big, amazing culture. But yeah, I think that that's what it is. I think that there's a lot of fear of losing the groupings that they have because they feel safe in their groupings. They don't want to let outsiders in because they feel safe in those groups. And you have to put yourself out there, make yourself vulnerable to experience something else. And I think I think people fear that. But hey, Mr. Uncle Greg, not here for long, but plugging a charity event going on right now, the Runaway Guys Coliseum, which is on Proton John. Hold on, let me move really fast. Twitch channel. All donations are for direct relief. I just wanted you to know. Oh, no problem, Hero Chaos. Thank you. So that's going on right now. So we will, if somebody, when we're done here, we'll maybe we'll jump over to there. Oh, wow, I hadn't thought about that. It makes a lot of sense. Sour and piercing foods like mint and alcohol disgust me. Certain foods smells easily offend. Rye, I get that. Rye, I am a picky eater. I've discussed that here before. I'm a very picky eater. I can't eat anything that I don't like the smell of. And I'm getting more into different foods. I'm trying to anyway. It helps when I cook the food myself. But I am trying to experiment a little bit more. But I can tell you that it is very difficult. All right, so it's almost 5, so we are going to wrap it up now. Right? Yeah, okay. So we're gonna wrap it up now. Thank you guys so much for joining me, for participating in the discussions. I know we had some weird discussions today. If you are watching, yeah, this is the end of the stream, but it's not stage time. We don't do stage time for the Silver Lining. Yeah, we don't bring Sage over for Silver Lining. We'll bring him over for some other streams though. He's always here on the other streams. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, be sure to check out the Twitch channel. That is Uncle Silver _ Gaming. There's a space in there because they wouldn't let me do it all in one shot. But yeah, check out the Twitch channel. And I always feel dirty saying it, but yeah, you know, like, subscribe, you know, all of that stuff. If you do come over on Twitch, give me a follow on Twitch. You know, I kind of like Twitch a little more than YouTube. Sorry, YouTube, but I do like Twitch a little bit more. I like the interactivity of it. Turn Up the Subject was a good pick. Thank you, Suave. But yes, thank you everybody for stopping in. Like I said, thank you for participating. Have an amazing, stick around after the credits and then, well, after the ending, and then we'll switch over to somebody else. But thank you guys so much. Have an amazing weekend. If I don't see you, we will be back on Monday for the Final Fantasy Tactics stream. But until then, have an amazing weekend. Enjoy. Get outside or stay inside and play video games. Whatever you like to do for your escape.